Hello students, I am Dr. Amit Prayas from Cube and today is the second day for admission of a partner. हमने पिछली सेशन में calculation of new profit and loss sharing ratio की बात करी थी and today I am going to discuss about the treatment of goodwill for admission of a partner. So let's begin with this. As far as the goodwill is concerned, there are two types of goodwill, the purchase goodwill and self generated goodwill. Self generated goodwill को हम रिकॉर्ड नहीं करते हैं, परचेज गुडविल को हम रिकॉर्ड करते हैं। तो आपसे क्वेश्चन भी पूछा जाता है कि आज पर द अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड 26 कौन से गुडविल को आप रिकॉर्ड करते हो, तो हम परचेज गुडविल को रिकॉर्ड करते हैं, हम सेल्फ जनरेटेड गुडविल को रिकॉर्ड नहीं करते हैं। व्हाई परचेज गुडविल इज एक्चुअली रिकॉर्डेड? क्योंकि हम इसके लिए वैल्यू पे करते हैं। जस्ट टेक एन एग्जांपल, राम ने मोहन का एक बिजनेस खरीदा। राम ने मोहन का जब बिजनेस खरीदा तो मोहन के बिजनेस का टोटल एसेट्स वाज 100 करोड़ और लायबिलिटी जो उसकी बिजनेस की थी वो सपोज 60 करोड़ की थी। तो राम को 40 करोड़ पे करना चाहिए था। रीजन है कि जब आप भी रनिंग बिजनेस खरीदते हो तो आपका जो पेमेंट होता है वो नेट वर्थ के लिए आप पेमेंट करते हैं। तो आपके पास टोटल एसेट्स कितना हो गया 100 करोड़ का और लायबिलिटीज कितनी हो गई 60 करोड़ की हो गई। तो एक्चुअली राम इज लायबल टू पे 40 करोड़, लेकिन मोहन उससे बोलता है कि आप मुझे 50 करोड़ रुपीस दो। तो ये जो 10 करोड़ रुपीस एक्स्ट्रा उसको देना पड़ रहा है, दिस इज जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द परचेज गुडविल एंड डेफिनेटली वी आर मेकिंग द पेमेंट। इफ यू थिंक ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ राम, सो यू आर मेकिंग द पेमेंट, सो आप इसको बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में रिकॉर्ड करते हो। नाउ सो बेसिकली इसमें अकाउंटिंग ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ गुडविल एट द टाइम ऑफ एडमिशन हमारे पास दो कंडीशंस होते हैं। हमारे पास पहला होता है वैल्यूड गुडविल और दूसरा क्या होता है आपके पास अपीयर्ड गुडविल होता है। पहला आपके पास वैल्यूड गुडविल होता है, दूसरा क्या होता है अपीयर्ड गुडविल होता है। नाउ वैल्यूड गुडविल और अपीयर्ड गुडविल कैसे डिफरेंशिएट कर सकते हो आप? वैल्यूड गुडविल जब भी एक न्यू पार्टनर एडमिट होता है सो वैल्यूएशन ऑफ गुडविल होता है और वो उसका एक पोर्शन अपना प्रीमियम ऑफ शेयर फॉर गुडविल लेके आता है। Now as the appeared goodwill is concerned, it is an existed goodwill. तो ये already books of accounts में होता है। हम इसको कैसे differentiate कर सकते हैं? Valued goodwill is given in the additional information whenever a new partner is admitted into the firm. But as far as the appeared goodwill is concerned, it is given in the asset side of your balance sheet. So basically आज हम सबसे पहले valued goodwill के बारे में समझेंगे। So valued goodwill में बहुत सारी conditions हो सकती है। Whenever a new partner admit into the firm, he gets right to share in assets and right to share in future profit. So right to share in future profit के लिए वो goodwill लेके आता है, right to share in assets के लिए वो capital लेके आएगा and right to share in future profit के लिए goodwill लेके आएगा। This is called valued goodwill. इसके बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हो सकते हैं कि सपोज वो पार्टनर वैल्यूड गुडविल प्राइवेटली लेके आ रहा है तो इसके लिए कोई एंट्री पास नहीं करेंगे हम। सेकंड कंडीशन है कि वो गुडविल कैश में लेके आ रहा है और रिटेन कर रहा है। थर्ड कंडीशन हो सकता है कि वो गुडविल कैश में लेके आ रहा है और विड्रॉ कर रहा है। फोर्थ कंडीशन हो सकता है कि वो गुडविल नहीं लेके आ रहा है। फिफ्थ कंडीशन हो सकता है वो पार्शियल अमाउंट ऑफ गुडविल लेके आ रहा है और सिक्स्थ कंडीशन हो सकता है कि बेसिकली वो गुडविल जो है वो काइंड्स में लेके आ रहा है। सो दीज आर द सिक्स कंडीशन ऑफ वैल्यूड goodwill. So let's start with the first condition when he brings his share of goodwill privately. So basically when the premium brought in by the new partner privately, तो इसके लिए कोई एंट्री आपको पास नहीं करनी पड़ेगी। क्यों नहीं करनी पड़ेगी इसका लॉजिक एक समझ लेते हैं। जैसे मान लो एग्जांपल तौर पे A, B and C were the three partners having a share of 5:3:2. D is joining the firm for 1/10 share, right? Or D brings his capital but he brings his share of goodwill and given privately in favor of A only. तो जब भी मैं प्राइवेटली करूंगा डेफिनेटली दिस इज नॉट एथिकल, लेकिन जब प्राइवेटली ए को मिलेगा तो ए फर्म में डिस्क्लोज नहीं करेगा इफ इज एक्सेप्टिंग प्राइवेटली, क्योंकि फर्म में डिस्क्लोज करेगा तो डेफिनेटली बी एंड सी विल शेयर द बेनिफिट। दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई इट इज नॉट बीइंग रिकॉर्डेड इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स। तो जब भी गुडविल प्राइवेटली हो तो उसको रिकॉर्ड करने की जरूरत नहीं होती है। नो ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ दिस। नेक्स्ट कंडीशन इज कि व्हेन न्यू पार्टनर ब्रिंग प्रीमियम फॉर गुडविल कैश एंड इट इज रिटेन इन द बिजनेस, तो फर्स्ट एंट्री शुड बी कैशुअली बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट टू न्यू पार्टनर्स कैपिटल अकाउंट टू प्रीमियम फॉर गुडविल अकाउंट, casually bank account debit to new partners capital account to premium for goodwill account. Second entry should be premium for goodwill account debit to sacrificing partners capital account. One thing we have to keep in our mind that all the sacrificing partner must be the old partners. All the sacrificing partner must be the old partner, but all the old partner may not be the sacrificing partner. ये ध्यान में रखना है. तो ओल्ड रेशियो में नहीं डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना होगा इसको किस रेशियो में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना पड़ेगा? सैक्रिफाइसिंग रेशियो में आपको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना पड़ेगा. तो ओल्ड रेशियो में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं करना है, सैक्रिफाइसिंग रेशियो में इसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है. सो बेसिकली हमने ये एंट्री कर ली. इसके ऊपर एक क्वेश्चन भी लेते हैं सो दैट वी कैन हैव अ क्लियर आइडिया. मैंने क्वेश्चन लिया, ए एंड बी आर टू पार्टनर्स having a profit and loss sharing ratio of 3:2. C joins the firm for 1/5 share. He brings 1 lakh for his capital and 20,000 for his share of goodwill in cash. So first of all, we have to calculate something. I like to explain. A and B is having a share of say 3:2. C joining the firm for 1/5 share. So here I can say old share becomes the sacrificing share. This has already been told in the previous session that whenever the question is silent, so old share becomes the sacrificing share. It is not given that how much A is going to contribute in favor of C. It is not again given that how much B is going to contribute in favor of C. So whenever the question is silent, so old share becomes the sacrificing share. So here you find that old sacrificing share between A and B would be 3:2. Now we can pass the journal entry. So here I can write cash oblique bank account debit to C's capital account to premium for goodwill account. टू प्रीमियम फॉर गुडविल अकाउंट. कैपिटल कितना लेके आ रहा है ये? 1 लाख. प्रीमियम फॉर गुडविल के लिए ही ब्रिंग्स 20,000. सो कंबाइनली 1 लाख 20,000. नाउ द सेकंड कंडीशन इज टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट दिस प्रीमियम फॉर गुडविल ब्रॉट इन बाय सी in favor of the sacrificing partner. So the entry should be premium for goodwill account debit to the sacrificing partner's capital account, that is A to A's capital account to B's capital account. And this is going to be distributed in this sacrificing ratio. So 3/5 of this amount should be given to A and 2/5 of this amount should be given to B. So it means 12,000 should be given to A and 8,000 should be given to B. Alright. So now I am moving to the next concept and then we will take a separate question for that. So now the next concept is when the premium for goodwill is withdrawn by the partner. So it is the same concept as we did in the previous condition, that he brings his share of goodwill in cash, but instead of retaining, he withdrew the amount, right? So the entry should be first the same entry, cash oblique bank account debit to new partner's capital account to premium for goodwill account. Second entry is also same, premium for goodwill account debit to sacrificing partner's capital oblique current account. But third entry means since he is withdrawing the entire amount or maybe the partial amount, so the entry should be sacrificing partner's capital oblique current account debit to bank account. This is the third entry is actually the addition for the second case. Second case may we have learned only two entries, that is when he brings the amount for goodwill in cash and that amount is being distributed between the sacrificing partners capital account in their sacrificing ratio. But here you find in addition to the first two entries, the third entry should be when he withdrew. I mean when he refers to the sacrificing partners withdrew. So the entry should be sacrificing partners capital account debit to cash oblique bank account. Now, so I'll take the question on this. So here is the question. A and B are partners having a profit and loss in the ratio of 3:2. So I have taken always A and B in order to connect properly with you. So here the same condition happened that A and B would be the two partners having the share of 3:2. C is coming for 1/5 share, right? So here also the old share becomes the sacrificing share, that is 3:2 ka. And he brings same 1 lakh for his capital and 20,000 for his goodwill. But in addition to this, withdrawn by the sacrificing partners. Up to this, all the question is same as the previous condition, only this part is new to this. So how to do the entries? Cash oblique bank account debit to C's capital account to premium for goodwill account. To premium for goodwill account. So here I can write 1 lakh rupees. Here I can write 20,000 and here I can write 1 lakh 20,000. Second entry should be, while distributing to the sacrificing partner, the entry should be premium for goodwill account debit, that is 20,000, to the sacrificing partner's capital account. They are A and B. So to A's capital account, to B's capital account. So 3/5 of this amount has to be given in favor of A and 2/5 of this amount has to be given in favor of B. Now it is mentioned that it is being withdrawn by the sacrificing partner. So the third entry should be the sacrificing partner. Look at the concept. Third entry should be sacrificing partner's capital account debit to bank account. So now here also the sacrificing partner is obviously A and B. So here we can write A's capital account debit, B's capital account debit, to cash oblique bank account. So here we have credited A with 12,000 and credited B with 8,000. So whenever he withdrew, A withdrew, so A is being debited with 12,000 and whenever B withdrew, so B is being debited with 8,000. So this would be the third entry. Alright, so first entry is cash oblique bank account debit to C's capital account to premium for goodwill account. Second entry is premium for goodwill account debit to A's capital account to B's capital account, and third entry should be A's capital account debit, B's capital account debit to cash oblique bank account, right. Now moving to the next concept, when new partner is unable to bring his share of goodwill in cash. So condition is new partner's current account debit oblique capital account debit to sacrificing partner's capital account, but I like to advise you कि instead of writing a new partner's capital account, you should use always new partner's current account debit to sacrificing partner's capital account. So the journal entry should be new partner's current account debit to sacrificing partner's capital account. Whenever a new partner admit into the firm, he gets two rights. Right to share in assets, right to share in assets के लिए वो capital लेके आता है. Right to share in future profit के लिए वो अपना share contribution goodwill के लिए भी लेके आता है, जिसको हम premium for goodwill बोलते हैं. Suppose in any condition वो second के लिए out of profit के लिए फ्यूचर प्रॉफिट के लिए वो गुडविल कंट्रीब्यूट इनिशियली नहीं अमाउंट कंट्रीब्यूट कर पाता है, बट डेफिनेटली व्हेनेवर ही इज अवेलिंग द सेकंड बेनिफिट ही सपोज टू गेट दैट अमाउंट. तो इनिशियली वो नहीं लेके आता, लेकिन फाइनली उसको लेके आना पड़ेगा. सो दैट इज द रीजन कि व्हाई इट इज बीइंग ट्रांसफर्ड टू हिज ऑपरेशनल अकाउंट, दैट इज कॉल्ड करंट अकाउंट. तो इसलिए हम न्यू पार्टनर्स करंट अकाउंट को डेबिट करते हैं टू सैक्रिफाइसिंग पार्टनर्स कैपिटल अकाउंट. न्यू पार्टनर्स कैपिटल अकाउंट को आप डेबिट कर दोगे, इसका मतलब है कि वो जो कैपिटल लेके आया था उसी में से गुडविल का जो अमाउंट है वो इंक्लूडेड है. ये क्वेश्चन में जब तक मेंशन नहीं होता है तो बाय डिफॉल्ट आपको न्यू पार्टनर्स करंट अकाउंट को लेना है. मोस्टली ये क्वेश्चन में नहीं गिवन होगा तो आपको न्यू पार्टनर्स करंट अकाउंट डेबिट टू सैक्रिफाइसिंग पार्टनर्स कैपिटल अकाउंट करने की जरूरत है. सो आई एम नॉट नाउ गोइंग टू टेक द क्वेश्चन ऑन दिस. हियर आई हैव टेकन द सेम क्वेश्चन एज बिफोर, दैट A and B were the two partners having a share of 3:2. C is joining the firm for 1/5 share, and here again it is not given that how much A is going to contribute in favor of C and how much B is going to contribute in favor of C. So it means the question is silent. So whenever the question is silent, so old share becomes the sacrificing share. So here also A and B is a sacrificing by 3:2. All right. So here also they have mentioned that 1 lakh capital के लिए for goodwill he is supposed to bring 20,000, but he is unable to bring. Here's the gap. 20,000 he is supposed to bring, but he is unable to bring his share of goodwill in cash. So for capital contribution, the entry is same as before, that is cash oblique bank account debit 1 lakh to C's capital account. Second condition is for his share of goodwill, the entry should be C's current account debit, that is 20,000, to the sacrificing partner's capital account. So here you find A and B definitely is the sacrificing partner and having a share of 3:2. So to A's capital account, to B's capital account, so here 3/5 of 20,000 should be given to A and 2/5 of 20,000 should be given to B. So that is 12,000 should be given to A and 8,000 should be given to B. Now moving to the next concept, when the goodwill, the premium is brought in kinds. What do you mean by the term kinds? Kinds means other than cash. When the new partner brings his share of goodwill or maybe the capital in form of kinds. Suppose instead of contributing through cash, he can contribute through kinds, like he can contribute the furniture, he can contribute the computer, he can contribute the other stuff of the required for the business. So for this, what you need to pass, instead of writing cash oblique bank account debit, you need to write sundry assets account debit or maybe the name of the assets account debit to new partner's capital account to premium for goodwill account. And second entry should be same as before, premium for goodwill account debit to sacrificing partner's capital account. So here is the entry, and now we can take the example of this. Here I have taken an example that again the same thing happened, that I have taken the same example for all the conditions. A and B is having a share of 3:2. Again C is coming for 1/5 share. So here the sacrificing ratio, since the question is silent, the sacrificing ratio is also 3:2, right. So basically he comes for 1/5 share and he has contributed furniture worth rupees 1 lakh, computer worth rupees 50,000, right, and firm's goodwill is 1 lakh, and give the journal entries. It's really simple. He admitted he is supposed to contribute the capital for his share of goodwill also. So how can we deal with this? So I mentioned in the previous slide that sundry assets account debit or maybe the name of the individual assets to new partner's capital account to premium for goodwill account. But here in this question, the capital contribution is silent and as well as the goodwill amount, I mean the premium for goodwill for C share is also not defined, but we can easily calculate. So here let's start with the journal entries. So here the furniture account is being debited with, furniture account is debited with 1 lakh. Computer, for computer you can even write office equipment, but computer can also be okay. So computer account would be debited with 50,000 to C's capital account. So C's capital account is not defined, so we have to again calculate, to premium for goodwill account. So premium for goodwill account is also not given, so we have to calculate this premium for goodwill also. So here we can easily calculate the premium for goodwill. Why? Because the firm's goodwill is 1 lakh. So here I can write firm's goodwill is rupees 1 lakh. So when firm's goodwill is 1 lakh, so definitely he is coming for 1/5 share. I mean this C is coming for 1/5 share. So C's share of goodwill equals to 1/5 of 1 lakh. So that would be how much? 20,000, right. So premium for goodwill is 20,000. Now see, he contributed 1.5 lakh for his capital and his share of goodwill. Out of 1.5 lakh, if 20,000 amount is his share for goodwill, so definitely the difference amount for his capital contribution, that is 1,30,000. So second one would be distributing this amount in favor of the partners. So the entry should be premium for goodwill account debit that is 20,000 to A's capital account, to B's capital account, now this 3/5 of 20,000 and 2/5 of 20,000. So that should be 12,000 and 8,000 respectively should be given in favor of A and B in their sacrificing ratio. Now moving to the next, treatment of appeared goodwill. So appeared goodwill is easily defined when the goodwill is given in the asset side of your balance sheet. So that goodwill can be write off between the old partners because it was created for created by the old partners only. So it should be written off by the old partners only. So whenever goodwill is basically an asset for the organization, intangible asset precisely. So basically whenever the goodwill is withdrawn by the old partners, so the entry should be old partners capital account debit to goodwill account. And in which ratio? Is it a sacrificing ratio? No. It is a old ratio because they have contributed in their old ratio. So it should be distributed between in the old ratio only. So the journal entry should be old partners capital account debit oblique current account debit to goodwill account. So now here I have taken an example that A and B are two partners having a profit and loss. Same thing happen here, that A and B were the two partners having a share of 3:2, C joining them for 1/5 share, and appeared goodwill here given is 1 lakh. So what we can do is, here we can concentrate on the old ratio only. Apart from the valued goodwill, we have to calculate the sacrificing ratio, but as far as the appeared goodwill is concerned, you just have to think, you just have to distribute in their old profit and loss sharing ratio. So here I can write easily A's capital account debit, B's capital account debit, to goodwill account. And the value of goodwill is here is 1 lakh. So 3/5 of 1 lakh in their old ratio should be withdrawn by A, and 2/5 of 1 lakh, that is 40,000, is being withdrawn by B. So A's capital account should be debited with 60,000 and B's capital account should be debited with 40,000. Is that okay? Now moving to the next concept, hidden goodwill. So this is a very important topic. So basically valued goodwill, actually I like to take you in the first slide. So when I say valued goodwill in the first slide, yeah, so valued goodwill, when I say valued goodwill, so actually valued goodwill can be of two types on the basis of amount, right? So valued goodwill can be of two types when the amount for goodwill is given, and now second one is when the amount for goodwill is not given. So when the amount for goodwill is given, so there are so many things we have just now discussed, that he brings his share privately, he brings his share of goodwill in cash and retained in the business, he refers to the new partner, so he brings his share of goodwill in kinds, he brings his share of goodwill partially in cash, he is unable to bring his share of goodwill in cash. So there are so many conditions what we have discussed. But suppose if he is not in a position to, if the amount for the goodwill is not given in the question, so this condition is called the hidden goodwill. When the amount for goodwill is not given. Hidden goodwill means when the amount for goodwill is not given in the question, so you have to calculate the amount. So this is the condition. Now I am taking you that on that slide. Yes, so this is a hidden goodwill. So when it is not given in the question. So first step I have mentioned that find the total capital of the firm. So how to calculate the total capital? So it's really simple to calculate new partner's capital into reciprocal of his share, right? We can experience just now with the question. Second one is the find the available capital. So available capital means old partner's capital contribution plus new partner's capital contribution plus any other benefit like revaluation profit if any, plus accumulated profits and reserves if any, minus revaluation loss or minus accumulated losses. So this shows your available capital. So in the first step, we have calculated the total capital of the firm. In the second step, we have calculated the available capital of the firm. In the third step, whenever we need to calculate the firm's goodwill. So this is the difference between total capital minus available capital. I mean the first step minus second step. In the above case, if it is not given that the new partner brings his share of goodwill in cash, we assume that he is unable to bring his share of goodwill in cash. Alright. So now let's take the question. A and B are partners. Again, I take the question. A and B are the partners. Here the calculation wala part. And they are having a share of 3:2. C is joining the firm for 1/10 share. And he contribute 1 lakh for his capital. He contribute 1 lakh for his capital. So what was my first step? My first step was simple. Find the total capital. So in order to calculate the total capital, the formula was new partner's capital into reciprocal of his share. So his capital contribution was 1 lakh and reciprocal of this is 10 upon 1. So that would be how much? 10 lakh. So 10 lakh would be the total capital of the firm. Alright. Second step was find the available capital. Find the available capital. So available capital means here they have given that A's capital contribution was 3 lakh, B's capital contribution was 4 lakh. So old partner's capital was 3 lakh plus 4 lakh plus new partner's capital contribution is 1 lakh and accumulated profits and reserves and accumulated losses are not given. So here the total is of 8 lakh. Now we can easily calculate the firm's goodwill. What I mentioned, total capital minus available capital. I mean the first step minus the second step. So the formula is total capital minus total capital was 10 lakh and available capital is 8 lakh. So the firm's goodwill is 2 lakh. Alright. Now C's share of goodwill. So C is coming for 1/10 share. So 1/10 of 2 lakh will give you how much? 20,000. So his share of goodwill is 20,000. And the sacrificing ratio, since the question is silent, the sacrificing ratio is 3:2 only. But it is also not given that he brings his share of goodwill in cash or not. So by default, we assume that he is unable to bring his share of goodwill in cash. And now we can pass the journal entries. So first of all, you have to write the journal entries for the capital contribution, that is cash oblique bank account debit with 1 lakh to C's capital account, that is 1 lakh. Alright. And second one is C's current account debit, C's current account debit with 20,000, we have just calculated, to A's capital account to B's capital account. So 3/5 of 20,000 and 2/5 of 20,000, that is 12,000 should be given in favor of A and 8,000 should be given in favor of B. It's real simple. First, you have to find the total capital. Second, you have to find the available capital, and then you can take the difference between the total capital and available capital. In this way, you are easily calculating the firm's goodwill, and from the firm's goodwill, you can easily calculate the C share of goodwill, and then you can write this journal entry. So I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching. See you shortly in the next session of admission of a partner. Thank you.